smokes, guys, the falling knife that is Snapchat has just hit new all-time 52-week lows, all-time in the stock, guys. This stock, when I took a screenshot last night, it had hit its all-time low at $14.02 that day. Well, today, I wish I would have waited to take the screenshot till today, because today that stock hit in the $13. I think it bottomed out at $13.65 today. This stock is an absolute falling knife right now. It's a company I really like. I'm not invested in it yet. I'm getting closer and closer, but this stock may fall to $9 a share or something around $9 a share. And how did I pick this price? Well, basically, I'm basing it based upon, what happened to Facebook and the trends I'm seeing with Snapchat stock price and how it is absolutely correlating with what happened with Facebook. And why could it keep falling? Well, first off, it's shown no signs of recovery. This stock is just in free fall literally since like 2 days after the IPO, right? This stock has been in free fall. It was like straight up, and then after that it's just been, it's kind of bounced around a bit, but it's been mostly to the downside. Let's not kid ourselves. So this stock has shown no signs of recovery, and it's just a falling knife right now. But there's something really big potentially that's going to happen over the next few weeks with Snapchat that could have this stock go down drastically more, guys. So there's what's called a lockup expiration whenever an IPO happens, and not a lot of beginner investors know about this, which is why a lot of beginner investors invest in IPOs and they get killed, because they don't know about lockup expirations. What a lockup expiration is, basically no insiders or big early day investors can sell a bunch more shares of more than what they sold at their IPO within 150 days. It's against the law. And then they get their next chance to sell the rest of their shares if they want, and they don't have to, but if they want, they can start selling them at 180 days. So 150 days, 180 days. And guess what we have coming up here? We have lockup expiration coming for Snapchat very soon. We're going to check this out. Now let's look on, this is lockup expirations. This is the day, this is the first day that expirations were allowed to happen. So basically the insiders and the early day investors were allowed to sell shares legally. And look at what happened. This is just the next day. This isn't like the next week or whatever. Look at what happened to Zynga, down almost 8% that next day. Groupon down almost 9%. Facebook down over 6% that day expirations came. Yelp was the one that bucked the trend there. Yelp went up 22%. Workday was basically about break even. Twitter went down almost 18%. Alibaba was about break even, and that other company, Nutanix, which I don't know, was maybe a biotech stock or something like that. That one went down almost 6% there. So you look at that there, and you can see those are a lot of highly hyped IPOs when they came out. Zynga was like a dominant gaming company at the time. Groupon, we know about Groupon. Facebook, Yelp, Workday, Twitter, Alibaba. These companies were highly hyped, and we see that they all have horrible performances on that first day expirations came, or they were basically break even. Now, here's what we got going on with Snapchat. Snapchat, which went public in early March, is nearing the end of its stock lockup period for employees and early investors, which forbids those early shareholders from selling Snap stock for the company's first 150 days on the stock market. Typically, the end of a lockup period means that lots of investors, and especially early employees, rush to sell their stock. Many of them have been waiting years to turn in their stock awards to actual cash. It's usually a milestone that some long-term vested employees use as a reason to leave the company, and things like that. And then if we read this next line here, regardless, there will soon be a whole lot of Snap stock eligible to trade on the public market. Citi Research projects that the lockup expiration will free up 949 million new shares for trading, significantly more than the current float, which is 230 million according to Snap's S1. The 150-day lockup period ends on Saturday, July 29th, so a couple days from now, which means the first day of potential trading for most of these insiders, likely early investors and former employees, is Monday, July 31st. So less than a week from now. Less than a week from now, guys. Now, that's huge. That's huge here. Now, the early employees, or if it's a current employee, they are not going to be able to sell the stock on that July 31st. And here's the reason. Snapchat is doing their earnings on August 10th. So basically, within a 2-week span of earnings, you're not allowed to sell stocks if you're an insider in the company, right? Because otherwise, you might know information that the public doesn't know. So you're not allowed. That's illegal. You can't sell within that period. It's like what's called a blackout period. So the early day employees that have shares that are still employed by Snapchat, they are not going to be able to sell until basically about late August. So they're not going to be able to sell till maybe August 25th, somewhere around there, because you can't sell until after the earnings, but you still can't sell within like a 2-week after the period, right? But all those early day investors that don't currently work for the company, they can sell those stocks as soon as July 31st comes. They can start selling out of those shares if they want to. Now I remember, I don't know if you guys ever watched Gary Vaynerchuk. I watched some of his vlogs, and he's supposedly an early day Snapchat investor. You know, that's what he said and whatnot. And it was funny, like a day after Snapchat went public, like a lot of people were congratulating him on Twitter and stuff, and congrats on Snapchat and whatnot. And he's like, dude, don't congratulate me yet. I can't sell yet. Like, I gotta wait another 6 months until I can sell, so don't congratulate me yet. A lot of stuff can happen in there, and since that time when the stock was at like $27 or whatever, now it's at 13. So his shares, if you know, and I don't know how many shares he has, but he claims he has shares from being an early investor in that company, now they're worth half the price. So when he's gonna actually get to sell those, if he wants, and who knows, maybe he'll just hold them at this point, he's gonna have to sell them for literally half the price he would have if he was able to sell out right away, guys. So these lockup periods are huge, and there's another lockup period. The other lockup period for Snapchat's coming August 31st. So basically, here you have a messy situation here. You have the early investors being able to sell on July 31st if they want, and from then on. You have earnings coming up on August 10th, which everything's so negative around Snapchat right now as far as the media attention. Just so much negativity around Snapchat. It's the most negative stock out there as far as everybody's just writing negative articles, everybody having a negative opinion, all this stuff right now. More negative than any stock out there currently, right? So you have earnings coming up. Those could just be, even if they report good numbers, it could just be taken for bad just because that's the way people want to go right now with Snapchat. It's just negative, negative, negative. So we could potentially get a bad earnings or not a good earnings, but it's just taken bad and the stock falls even more. Then employees, those early day employees are allowed to sell a couple weeks after that. And then everybody else that hasn't been able to sell is allowed to sell August 31st. So the next month with Snapchat is going to get really, really, really freaking interesting with this stock, because we've seen how weak this stock is before these lockup expirations. What's going to happen when all these new shares come out there? There aren't even enough people, you need buyers and sellers in a market, right? There's not even nearly enough buyers right now, Snapchat stock, when there's only 230 million shares on the market right now. What happens when there's going to be potentially tens of millions more, if not hundreds of millions of more shares go onto this market? What's going to happen to the stock price then if there's not even enough buyers at this point? There's too many sellers right now, guys. This is huge. This is huge. So this is why this stock absolutely has a potential to fall to the $9 range. And will it fall there? I don't know. I don't want to be one of the guys that guesses what a stock price is, but if I'm trying to make an estimated guess on Snapchat stock price over the next month, let's say, I see it could absolutely fall to the $9-ish range because of all these shares that are potentially coming in the market. And of course, it's potentially, no one's going to sell. Maybe none of those early day investors sell. Maybe none of, the early day employees sell. However, I'm not sure I'm convinced of that, because with Facebook was in this exact situation. And Facebook was actually even performing a little worse. And when lockup expirations came, massive amounts of shares got flooded on the market. And that was with Facebook, guys. That was with Facebook, and that's with almost every IPO. So the IPO investors, they invested at such a low price, such a low valuation. Someone probably invested in Snapchat when it had a $100 million valuation. So even if they can get right now a $15 billion valuation, they're still making bank. They're still making so much money, it's ridiculous. So there's a lot of early day investors who are like, I don't care if it's at a $15 billion valuation or a $20 billion valuation. I invested when the stock I guess it wasn't stock, but when the company was valued when it was in the private markets for $100 million. Like, they're still making crazy money on that, guys. Now, here's another thing here. Roughly 45% of the new shares that will be available for trading, or approximately 422 million shares, are owned by Snap co-founder Evan Spiegel and Bobby Murphy. And they already sold some shares on when the company actually came public. I would not expect them to sell their shares. I would be extremely surprised if they started dumping shares on the market, guys, because generally speaking, the guys that, you know, founded the company, that are still running the company, they usually just want to sell, you know, a decent amount, get a couple $100 million when the company goes IPO, and they keep the rest of the shares. And it's a good look for the company. And also, generally speaking, those guys believe in the company long term. Like, they probably believe Snapchat will be $140 someday. They don't want to sell for $14 a share or $13 a share. So they're in it for the long term. So we just have a situation here over the next month that's going to be super, super interesting to be paying attention to Snapchat. And I love talking about this stock right now. It's my #1 stock I love to talk about because it's a company I absolutely love. I'm not investing yet, but I love it. You know, I love it the same way I love a Tesla or a Netflix or an Amazon or something like that. But you don't see me buying Tesla stock or Netflix stock or Amazon stock because Tesla's trading at a $50-something billion valuation. It would literally need to drop to about a $25 billion valuation to interest me. Amazon's trading over $1,000 a share. If Amazon dropped to about 700, maybe 650, then I'm interested. Netflix would literally need to fall by about 73% for me to start buying Netflix shares, guys. So I love companies, but that doesn't mean I'm investing in them and I'm just waiting. I'm playing the waiting game. And, you know, it stinks for all the IPO investors in Snap. But, of course, if you're playing it from a long-term perspective, you probably don't care. But if you remember, if you watch my original Snapchat IPO video when we, like, looked into the company and whatnot, I explained to people, you know, this company seems very interesting. It's growing like crazy, but you gotta watch out here because IPOs are highly volatile, and the owners of that company and the investment managers that take that company public, they never sell a company for a discount. They're trying to get full price or overpriced valuation on that company, guys. So there's huge risk, and that's why I never participated in an IPO and why I didn't participate in this one. And I haven't bought any Snap shares because I just want to see what happens with this whole next month. And then if it does fall at that $9 range, I will absolutely be buying. I'll go on camera right now. I will be buying Snapchat if it falls to $9 a share. Absolutely, because at that price, Snapchat would be at like a $10 billion valuation. $10 billion valuation, $3 billion in cash, so basically paying $7 billion for the business. Business that has 166 million daily active users, and that number is going up. And the majority of those are in markets that get very high ad rates, like the United States and Europe, okay? And a company that's growing revenues at 296%. One of the most downloaded apps pretty much almost day in and day out. One of the most used, I mean, how many apps or websites have 150 plus million daily active users coming there? There's probably less than 20 in the entire world, and that's including China, that have 150 million plus daily active users. That's a ridiculous number, guys, ridiculous. So if you give me that company for $7 billion, absolutely, I'm freaking taking it. But and I might buy in a little before that. We'll just have to see. But I just don't want to rush into this one just because there's potentially a massive amount of shares coming on the market, guys. Massive. So I hope you learned something by this video. If you're an experienced investor, you probably already know about lockup periods and some of those kinds of things. But I know I get tons of more beginners in the stock market watching my channel, so I love to explain this stuff to you guys so you can know next time an IPO happens. Maybe I don't want to mess with that because they're selling it for an overpriced valuation. That stock is going to be extremely volatile, has a great chance to fall. And then when the lockup periods, that's when it gets real scary because you can just have massive shares flooded on the market all at once, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this today. If you just came across this channel, you may want to subscribe. We talk personal finance on the channel. We talk entrepreneurship. I'm an actual business owner. I give away so many business tips. We talk stock market investing more than anything. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.